Hello, Wendy, how are you?
Hi, Craig. I'm very well, thank you.
Well done
How are
connecting.
you?
I'm okay too. Well done connecting straight away to this weird technology we call Zoom. I'm very intrigued by the room you're sitting in. Is that like a special music room?
Well, it is where I do my music, but it is actually our dining room, so it has double purpose, dual purpose room.
Can you play all the things I can see in the
No, I was thinking there's a violin behind me. I tried to learn folk fiddle a few years ago
Okay.
with fairly hideous results, so I gave up. But I still have it hanging up there for old time's sake.
And as it looks like there's a sort of mini guitar.
There's a tiny little ukulele. Yeah, I've got just several ukuleles and several guitars. I've got a daughter who's got two guitars, and
Okay.
so there's lots of things hanging up all over the place.
So, have you ever used the ukulele with your singing, with your choirs, maybe?
Yes, I did with a little help from my friends recently with my choirs, and sent out the ukulele chords, and actually made a little teaching video to show the ukulele
Were they
chords.
all singing and playing ukes at the same
Yeah,
time?
yeah.
Like the ukulele orchestra? What a lovely.
Yes, exactly. Although, in some ways, it was wonderful that everyone was muted because it didn't really matter if they were in tune or what they were doing.
Oh, don't let the secret out.
Maybe don't.
Don't let
Maybe
the
you need
secret
to
out.
edit that.
Well, look, I mean, I could probably ask. I can ask you now. How are you coping? And the how it's now what's week 16 of lockdown, and we've
I
all had
know.
these choirs. Did you go straight for the right? We're going to do it and work it out, or have you taken a
Yeah.
while to let it work?
No, pretty much we did it. I'd co-teach one of my choirs, a pop choir, with my friend Catherine, who is was very keen to get going straight away on Zoom. So I was slightly dragged along by her, and then thought, yes, actually, no, it was nice because it meant that people could see each other and felt a little bit less isolated. So that
Yeah,
was the main benefit of it.
me too.
Getting people used to being muted and only being able to hear themselves has taken a few weeks, as I'm sure all the choir leaders have found.
Some people still struggling with it.
Oh, well, I mean, we all it's so hard. It's a one-way communication, isn't it?
Yeah,
You can't tell whether have got what you're teaching them. You can't. It's hard to read the body language because it's all a bit delayed. So it
yeah.
has a lot of
I used,
drawbacks.
I
But
did, when I started, I did lots of sort of asking them, unmuting them and saying, "How is that for you?" But now I can't unmute them, so it's because they've changed the rules. So
yeah,
it's even harder. I'm going to take
yeah.
you right back, Wendy. I'm going to take you right back. I want to find out where you grew up and where was your first musical experience and how did that come about?
Well, I grew up in lots of different places because my father was in the Air Force, so we
Oh,
travelled around. I was actually born in Cranwell in Lincolnshire,
mm,
and we moved every 18 months. So I went to about 8 different junior, infant and junior
wow.
schools, which was an interesting beginning to my school life. But yes, I can remember. I'm very old, and one of the a song that used to really get me going when I was tiny was Suku Suku. I don't know if you remember that one. Actually,
I
Nina and
don't.
Frederick did it, and it was also a kind of big band number, and it was kind of South American. Ay, 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 I feel so crazy. Suku Suku is everywhere. Is that familiar?
Not to me. Is
No?
that in the Choir Community Library?
Sadly, no.
As
I've
it
never.
should be.
I should arrange it actually
Great.
because it's got such a.
Now you've said it on the interview that's going to be posted on the website. I think you're going to have to.
But apparently, the my mother always said I used to rush when it came on the radio. I used to rush and put on a Hungarian costume of my sisters and go in the garden and whiz around and round and round to this particular song. So that was my first kind of
Okay. So it was a
excitement of
record.
music.
It was a record your parents owned. You're saying, yes.
Actually, no, I don't think. No, it was on the radio.
So right. Um, so when did you acquire your very first own personal musical system, like a radio or a cassette player, something you could control?
Well, it wasn't mine, but we had an old-fashioned mono record player, and we
Mm.
used to. I used to stack up. You could stack up 45s, and I was playing mostly my older brother and sister's Beatles records and things. So yeah, that was I was never a big listener of music. I sort of listened to stuff that came my way, but I'd never had a huge collection of records.
So your elder brother and sister had the Beatles records. They weren't yours, but you played them. Was there any in particular that you think, oh, I play this again and again because I love the way that sounds?
Yeah, well, I used to love All My Loving by the Beatles.
Was that a very early single of theirs? I think it was a very early.
Yes, these were all very early singles. We also had Manfred Mann and all sorts of crazy old things. Yeah. And also my mother occasionally bought a classical record, and I remember really loving Wagner, The Ride of the Valkyries, and dancing around the room to that. Yes.
Very dramatic. Well, that's wonderful. But of course, that's quite some, uprooting, having to go to so many different schools, one by one, every few months. Then, was there any one school you sort of settled in and had a maybe one particular musical experience in at school, maybe age 7, 8, 9 or something? Was there something that you want to remember?
Yeah, well, I can remember we spent a little spell in Holland when I was only about 7 or so. And that was when Petula Clark won the Eurovision Song Contest with a puppet on a string.
Oh, wow.
So that was a memory. We did a dance routine to that. But when I was 12 or 13, we moved to Exeter, and that was where we stayed. So I actually stayed at school in Exeter and had a lovely time with music there. Had a very nice music teacher. Did a lot, sang in all the choirs, did all the shows. Had a lovely time.
Oh, that sounds great. And I'm looking a bit further forward now. When was singing became a big thing for you? In your own.
Yeah, well, it always was. My mother she wasn't a great musician, but she loved singing, and she used to get us all to sing in the car. There were 4 of us, 4 children, and whenever we started with the moaning and I want a drink of water and are we nearly there yet? All those conversations. She'd get us singing. So we would sing, "Oh, You'll Never Go to Heaven," and songs like that. And that was when I learnt harmonising, because we would all do harmony, and I would just try and find the middle note usually. If there were 2 people singing already, I'd try and find the middle one.
That third one.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Is that In a Baked Bean Tin, that song?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Never go to heaven. In a baked bean tin.
In a baked bean tin.
'Cause a baked bean tin.
'Cause a baked bean tin.
Got baked beans in.
Yes!
I love that.
Yeah.
With my kids. My dad always used to sing in the car as well. He made up songs. He made up songs with like 100 verses deliberately. So it's like things like it's only 4 hours until we see our grandpa. And then the time just came down. Only 3 hours. So, thousands of verses. Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah, well, it was a formative experience though, because it made me love singing, but also it made me realise how singing lifts your spirits. If everybody's moaning and feeling sick and everything, it was brilliant. Once everyone was singing, we all the mood lightened. It really did, and it's made me loved now having that effect on other people. The fact that you can turn them from a group of a bit tired, and then they start singing and all the spirits are lifted. It's wonderful.
And that's what we've discovered, haven't we, with this I would say new movement. You've been doing it for longer than most of us, I think. This wonderful community singing, which you've made a fantastic career out of, and it is a lot of people's favourite part of the week, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yes. I do one group on a Monday morning, and many for women, and many of them say to me, "Oh, it sets me up for the week. I feel as if I can, get on with all the shopping and things now because I've had a good sing."
So let's find out how that came about. So how did the very first singing group come that you found yourself in charge of? Did you suddenly decide to do it, or did you fall into it? Were you invited? How did that work?
Well, it was I always sang, as I say, at school, and then I joined choirs after school and did lots of choral society things, which I loved. I absolutely loved singing in choral societies. And then my sister invited me to a workshop by a group called the Sweet Soul Sisters in Bristol, who were five or six women who'd started singing a cappella songs. Just they'd just started sort of spontaneously, and they worked out their arrangements just collaboratively, sitting around the kitchen table. They worked out 5 or 6 part arrangements of things like California Dreaming and lovely songs like that. And they at this point they were doing workshops, and you would go along and you'd go with one singer and learn a part, and then the whole room would be singing in unaccompanied harmony. And I can remember that was a turning point in my life, when all the hairs on the back of my neck were on the end, and tears were springing from my eyes, because it was so exciting, this feeling of a cappella singing. And from then on, I sort of nurtured the idea of doing a choir, which actually I then didn't do for about 10 years, but that was what made me want to do it. And the same people who started that then started the Gasworks Choir in Bristol, which was one of the earliest community choirs. Dee Jarlett and Ali Orbaum are both friends of mine now, and I've been very influenced by them. And so after a few years of thinking about it, actually I did a singing group at work as a sort of experiment. I was working for the Environment Agency, so I did a lunchtime choir just to see how it went, and that was quite fun. And then I started talking about it to my friends, and one of my friends finally said, "Come on, if you've been talking about it long enough, get on with this. let's have this choir." So I have a lot to thank her for. And so I had 3 songs. I had "Lean on Me," I had "Jambo" from South Africa, and I can't remember what the other one was, but I literally had 3 songs, and I made some handmade posters and put them around Portishead, where I live, and put an article in the paper, and went to the hall, and people started streaming in. It was 2005. It was just when Gareth Malone had started, so I think he was influencing people as well. But I was just astonished at how many people came, and I faced this massive group of people thinking, crumbs, I've got to actually teach them something now. And we started off just singing Amazing Grace, just in unison. And my heart was pounding with the feeling of this amazing, the feeling of lots of people singing together is so wonderful, as you know. And I taught them "Lean on Me," and I taught them "Jambo." And then, of course, they all wanted to come back, so I had to find some more songs.
Yeah. Well done.
And it's gone from strength to strength. Yes. So since then I've started many other choirs. I've currently run about 6, but obviously lockdown has put a stop to that for the time being.
Have some of them gone on to the online on a Zoom thing?
Yeah.
Or have they all, some of them or all of them?
Well, I've sort of amalgamated them. So I've sent emails to everyone saying, "Do you want to sing on Zoom?" And I should think about a fifth of all my singers are beginning to sign up now. I think as people are realising it's going to be a lot longer before we can get together, I think they're thinking, "Oh, okay, I'll give it a go. I'll battle with this technology." And they're joining in.
Well, we're very pleased and proud to have some of your arrangements already on ChoirCommunity, and we've got some new ones coming in. Can you tell us your favourite of your arrangements that you have put on there, and why? We've got. Do you know some of the ones I'm talking about?
Yes, I'm just trying to think which of those I really like.
Still Delivered, Te Hara Nui, and we've got Money, Money, Money Coming In, and Hernando's Hideaway.
Yeah. That was one of my mother's.
Alanita Nana, Bring Me Sunshine, Fields of Gold, Hallelujah, Kiss from a Rose. So out of all those, which is your? Oh, I really love what I've done with that, and that way.
Well, I love Hernando's Hideaway because that's, as I say, that was one that my mother used to sing, and so that brings. But she sadly died in 2000, so she's no longer with us. But that brings back, really lovely memories, and I had great fun teaching that to my women's groups because it's very sort of dramatic tango. So I always like to sort of work on the drama of songs, so we had a lot of fun singing that one.
What would be do you have a main approach to arranging, or do you just take each song as it comes and what comes to you, or is there a thing you like to do with arranging?
Well, I mean, I have to say I've learnt about arranging as a result of teaching the songs. So I started off with a sort of an idea of how to do it. I used to arrange songs for my sister and my mother and I, but I'd never done sort of 4-part harmony. But over the years, I think the thing that I've developed more than anything is to make sure everybody has an interesting line to sing, because having taught arrangements that on the face of it look lovely, then you realise that suddenly the altos have got, I don't know, 3 notes maybe, and an awful lot of oohing and ahhing. And also just coming up with, I like finding quirky little things in songs, little fills, and using rhythmic tricks to just give it a bit of a lift and make it more fun to sing.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic to have you on board. We look forward to many more arrangements from you, Wendy, and more news about your amazing choirs. And we hope that when the lockdown finishes, if it ever does, that it'll get back to some sort of normal.
Yeah, that would be lovely. I so miss singing, hearing people's voices. It's a real hole in my life at the moment. I'm sure it is for you too.
So with all the lockdown thing happening, we're looking forward to eventually singing again together. But at the moment, have you got anything planned that is sort of taking that place in the meantime? I think you've got something up your sleeve, haven't you?
We have. I'm very lucky. I've had a collaborative project this year with Doug Watts, who's one of your arrangers as well, who lives in Portishead. My co-leader Catherine Smith and another singer, lovely classical singer Catherine Everett in Portishead. And we were going to be doing the most amazing first singing festival for Portishead this coming weekend. We were going to have singing workshops and outdoor song raids and all sorts of things, which of course are not happening. So we're going to do an online session tomorrow by Zoom. We've got lots of people signed up through Facebook, and we're going to teach them all I'm Still Standing, which was the song we were going to teach for our big sing. We're going to collaborate in the teaching, so we're going to put people in different breakout rooms with one teacher per part, which is going to be great fun, and then come back together and sing it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Will you be able to record that and put it online somewhere afterwards?
Well, we will. I mean, we obviously, again, we won't be able to hear the singers. We'll be able to hear our voices, but
to see the process. And of course,
yeah.
I think this is going to go on the website after the event, so people will be able to look back maybe and see how you got on. And then there'll be another one coming along soon.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Well, Wendy,
anyway,
thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Craig. It's really, really nice to be part of the choir community. I'm really grateful to be on your team.
You're so welcome, and we look forward to many wonderful things from you in the future.
Great. Thanks. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.